Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Okay, so as we talk in our last episode here of our hashtag best summer ever, one thing I want to kind of address tonight is this notion of creativity. And this is a thing that I hear all the time from adults. I've never heard a kid tell me this, but I often hear adults will admit to not being creative, or I'm not one of those creative types. And I often like to point out a quote from Brené Brown that I love, where she said, "There is no such thing as creative people and non-creative people. That is not a thing. There are people who use their creativity and those who don't." And I think there's a lot of truth in that.
But I think people tend to associate the word creativity with art.
Sometimes, but also when you like encourage people to like brainstorm something or come up with an idea,
it doesn't take
like,
long to break
I'm
that.
not one of those creative types, right?
It's like, oh, are you good at this? Are you good at that? Right?
Yeah. And so one of the things that you reminded me of is that summer is, especially the summer of our childhoods, when we were out of school and you have that kind of break. It's kind of a chance to try things and be creative. I remember. We had a little ravine with a little creek going through it by my house, and boy, I could spend all day as Indiana Jones or Han Solo. I would just explore, be out there, or my brothers and I would go to the park across in front of our house, and we would come up with games. We would just come up with different games, baseball games, basketball games.
Yeah, remember those days when you'd be like, you want to play a game? What game? Let's just make something up. Like, you literally would just make up a game.
Yeah, and as the day goes along, you're adding rules, and you're like, hey, well, that shouldn't be fair. Let's do it this way. And it's like, and then I think about the classic, building forts and cloud watching is another
one.
One
of my favorites.
Where that's kind of one of those carefree activities that you do as a kid that sometimes as adults we it's almost like we remember, like we kind of forget what it was like to be a kid, and every once in a while you're like, oh yeah, that kind of looks like this, and there's not really a lot of judgment with something like that, or self-judgment, or it's just fun and it's free and there's no pressure on it, right? You're like,
I used to do a lot of cloud watching. We had to go to Chicago. We lived like 2 hours from Chicago. We had to go to Chicago once a month for my dad's doctor, because he lived with a chronic disease, and I would cloud watch because we didn't have tablets, and I didn't really like to read in the car, and I would literally cloud watch for a lot of it. And I remember just sitting there and be like, "Ooh, it's a good cloud day," and it'd be like watching a good movie. You would just kind of imagine things, and it was just actually something I looked forward to doing.
Yeah, and I think the key thing with all of these things is that there's not really a point to any of it, right? We weren't. That's kind of our kryptonite of us adults, is we have to find the point. We have to find the ROI, the return on investment. We have to justify why we're doing anything. Is it saving us money? Is it going to earn us money? Is it saving us time? Is it something I have to do for my kids? Is it like there's got to be a reason for it. And so the thing I wanted to encourage everyone to think about who's watching this is the summer is a perfect time for what I like to call a tinker project. All right, and I know some of you have heard of this before, but it might be time to start a new one, even if you've heard of this before. So let's start with this. What is a tinker project? It's a playful endeavor of any size or scope that gives you permission to experiment with something that's been kind of tugging at your soul without any regard to any particular outcome at all. It's a chance to sort of chase your curiosity, try something new, venturing into the unknown, just because, just for the act of exploration. And I sort of accidentally did this in 2016. Was what I would call my first tinker project that I was aware of, and it was a number of years after I had retired the Kim and Jason comic strip, which is where that comes from. And I had kind of gotten busy with the speaking side of our business, and I'd kind of let art be on the back burner. I wasn't making Kim and Jason anymore, and because of that, I wasn't really making any art anymore. But there was this sort of like, like I said, tugging at my soul. I need to get back. That was kind of like my first identity as a child is like, I'm an artist. I love to draw. I love to make things. And so I felt this sort of, this desire to get back in the studio. And I started like putzing around a little bit. But I would always come up with this idea of like, I need to spend more time in the studio. Like every year I would have this annual review and I'd be like, I need to spend more time in the studio. And then finally in 2016, I just got sick of it. And I said, all right, this is it. This year, I am going to make 100 new pieces of art. Now, this was in the times when I was doing a lot of digital art on my computer and I could work a lot faster. This was before I got into oil paints. So I knew like 100 sounds like a lot, and it was, but it was doable. I was like, this is going to be a stretch, but it's doable. Just for context, I think the year before I looked up, I did 29 pieces of art the year before. And here's the most important part. I did not put any pressure that the art needed to be good, that it needed to serve a purpose, that it was going to lead to anything, that it had to be in a certain style. I mean, when I look at the art I made that year, it was all over the board. There was different styles, different experiments, and that was key. It's like it didn't need to serve any purpose at all other than to get me back in the studio. And now, in the hindsight of 10 years later, I realized like that actually was that changed everything when I look back on that now, because that changed my relationship with art. It helped me develop a new style separate from Kim and Jason. It just changed my mindset. And what was kind of cool is I would share these little experiments online on Facebook, just to show people what I was working on. And as a part of that project, a book agent actually saw one of the pieces of art on Facebook, went to my site, looked at the portfolio, looked at everything we were doing. She was like, please tell me you do not already have a book agent. And I was like, I do not already have a book agent. And long story short, that was what led to Penguins Can't Fly and 39 Other Rules That Don't Exist, which was published by it was published by a big New York publisher. And of course, then the story of that is then Kim is like, what's the story about that penguin on the cover, and what's with the people below him? And that's what led to this children's book that's coming out. But it really, like, that was like a big shift in our career and how we started to look at our business, how we started to look at how my art worked into it. And it was huge. And so I want to encourage anyone who is, again, maybe there's something that, maybe a hobby that you had when you were a kid, or something that you just discovered over the course of living over the last few months or a year, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And here's the thing is your head is probably not giving you permission to do anything with it because you're looking for a reason, right? You're looking for a reason. You're looking at, should I justify this? Why should I spend money on this? Why should I spend time on this? And here's the thing. This might be the most important thing that I remind you of all night. Sometimes your heart has reasons for doing things that take a while for your head to understand. When I look back now, it all looks like it makes perfectly logical sense. Like, oh yeah, I'll do this Tinker project, and then this will lead to this, and this will lead to that, and this will lead to that, and that'll lead to that, and it'll be great, and of course I should do that. At the time, I had no clue and no pressure that it needed to be anything. And I think some of the best things that happen to us in our life are when we get rid of that adulthood habit of thinking there has to be a reason for something before we justify our time or money to go into it. You know, we don't have to quit our job. That's why it's like it's a Tinker project. It's like a little side hustle. It's something you just kind of do just for fun. And if that's all it ever becomes is just something for fun, that's also great. Like, this isn't like some secret way to trick the universe to do something great in your life. Like, oh, I'll just pretend like I don't care about. Like, no, like literally go back to when you were a kid in those summer days, and you would just wake up and you'd be like, what do I want to do today? And of course, as adults, we don't have a full opportunity to just say, what do I want to do today, every single day, all day long. But we do have those little nooks and crannies in our day that we might otherwise be scrolling social media or binge watching Netflix, that we could probably squeeze a half hour here or there to invest in a Tinker project. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's the crazy thing is like we think we're looking for the ROI, the reason, and sometimes our head is a little dumb. Our head does not keep up with what our heart is trying to tell us. So hopefully that that's helpful
the cool thing
for someone.
about kids. Oftentimes they lead with their heart, right? Which is why they say the darndest things or they say the cutest things, because their head doesn't always logically, filter it for them. They just kind of speak with their heart. They act with their heart. That's what we're trying to get back to.
Yeah, that's the kind of carefree part of childhood that is important to remember and think about. So.